everyone. For the very first time in the Be Limitless series, I'm delighted to bring you today a startup, a company that's just 6 years old, the first D2C direct to consumer, a unicorn, so valued at over $1 billion, that's over 7,500 crores, a trailblazer setting new industry benchmarks and global standards in food safety and security. So today we bring you Licious. And just to set the context, in terms of food habit, India is about 30% vegetarians. Actually, they're lacto-vegetarians because they do drink milk. And so they're not vegan. And 70% are non-vegetarians. But even the non-vegetarians don't include meat in their diet every day. And so we have a per capita consumption of meat, which is somewhere around 5 kilos per head per annum. And that seems low when I look at countries like the US, which is 125 kilos, I think, per head per year, and China, which is at 60 kilos per person per year. So this speaks to a very large potential in what has been hitherto an unorganized market. And with that, I have great pleasure in inviting Prashant Verma, who is the Chief Growth Officer at Licious, to talk to us today about the strategy that Licious is pursuing that is making them limitless in their approach. Welcome, Prashant, to the program.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Glad to be on board here, and very excited to know that Licious is actually the first startup that you brought to the Be Limitless series.
Yes, another first, Prashant.
Thank you.
So Prashant, let's get to it right away. You know, you've been, just before this, you were working with Grofers, which is now called Blinkit. And you described that to me as a tech platform selling FMCG. And you moved from there to a business which is platform plus product plus service plus consumer. So I wanted to ask you, how do you see this whole role of the chief marketing officer or the chief growth officer evolving?
Sure. Thanks, Sangeeta. I think that's a very good question. I think it's a very pertinent question that exists in the consumer internet sector and all startups today. See, Grofers was a platform and service business. Licious is a product plus a platform and a service business. I think what do I mean by that? By platform, there is a purchase platform, which is the app. And then there is a service. In this case, the product is their own. What I've also observed is that in the startup industry, unfortunately, and I think why I call it unfortunately as well, marketing is being siloed. Yeah. So there is marketing and there is growth, which I find it both annoying and amusing at the same time because the funnel is one. Yeah. Yeah, the funnel is one, right? It's and I think it's only that because we're sitting on piles and piles of data, and new aspects of marketing have also evolved, which we'll discuss now. But I think apart from that, it's actually just one funnel. So what's happening is otherwise in silos, there is marketing that is being seen as, the previous FMCG marketing, which used to be like the blue chip marketing, right? As brand managers become siloed in a startup environment and say that, this is brand. And then there is a new growth function that's being developed in the sense that this is performance marketing and product marketing and customer lifecycle marketing, and this is growth. And it's essentially being like breaking up the funnel into multiple parts, and I think that's something which should be avoided. And I think the role needs to be one. So I've been very, very fortunate at Grofers when I was a CMO. My role spanned both brand and growth. At Licious now, when I've become the chief revenue officer, while brand and growth are also there, there's category management also, which is being added to the fold, right? Which is, I think, is the right way to go about it because it's marketing and sales combined, right? And you need to have single-threaded ownership of someone to own the entire pieces of the funnel, right? While there is brand which requires, and a lot of learning from brand is still what FMCG brings on board, right? I mean the classic blue chip today, if I have to go out and hire, I will absolutely look at someone who's actually spent a lot of time in FMCG to bring those brand management nuances into place because that's absolutely top notch in the country. Of course, having said that, some learning from the new age channels like social and content also come into the fold. Then growth is another beast where I think there's a different mindset and different talent that's being evolved in that science, right? Because internet is our bread and butter is on the platforms, right? So for us, e-commerce marketing in terms of how performance marketing comes into the fold. I think that's there. Then product marketing for us is not the physical product, but the app. So how do you have marketing interventions on the app? I think that comes into the mix. And I think lastly, the most critical part is the customer lifecycle marketing part. Yeah, and I think that is where you drive a lot of optimization and because you are sitting on tons and tons of data, how you're moving customers across the habit forming journey from, let's say, order rank 1 to order 2 to order 3 to order 4 till they become habitual. I think that's a very, very interesting part as well.
You know, it's amazing, Prashant, that you guys sit on so much data. You know, in the years gone by, we used to struggle to get data about the consumer. And we'd have to commission these large market research surveys going across the country, choosing cities, choosing SEC households, looking at how they were sampling. And now you just sit because of the app and, the whole purchase cycle, because you're online and offline and everything is digital. I mean, that's a great place to be. So obviously you've got consumer cohorts, and that's how you manage looking at the data. No. So anything else you want to add on this front? Otherwise, we'll move to Licious.
Sure. I would say I mean, for any upcoming marketeers out there or CMOs or CGOs, see, look, the CM, it's actually a CMGO right now, right? That's one role, and that's one. Marketing is growth, and growth is marketing. Like, it's a tautology for me, right? It's like it doesn't exist in any other.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the point which I think we need to build over the next decade or so.
Right, and it has to be a function, as you said, CMGO, which is enabled financially and technologically. I mean, there's no two ways about that. So actually, I was reading recently, somebody wrote in Brand Equity only about the CMOs, and the fact that they must have a strategic, operational, and financial flexibility to really plan the next few steps for the company to keep it future ready, and to see how consumers are going to respond in the future, to be able to see that. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And let's go to the genesis of Licious.
Great. I think when I heard the genesis of Licious, when I spoke to the founders, I think that I got really excited, and I think that's what brought me here. Yeah. I was like, hey, I want to be a part of this cause of what's happening actually here, because it's something that because they were not essentially trying to build a business, they're actually trying to do nation building and Amul. I think that's what I realized. And I think to me, I think the most interesting part here was, Abhay and Vivek are not just founders, they are foodies and they are friends. Yeah. And I think that's how their journey started. Both of them are meat lovers, right? In the sense, of course, that's why they started this. They realized that the quality of chicken being sold in the country wasn't great. I think that was, they themselves as consumers faced that problem. And back in 2015, when they ordered meat from somewhere, of course, without naming from where, it came like in a Son Papdi box, or like, one of those Son Papdi boxes.
In a black bag. It came in a black plastic bag.
It came like that. And they're like, what is this? Like, is this something which all families enjoy, relish? It's like the one highlight of the weekend meal or like a dinner moment in the country. And why is this the case? Yeah. That's when it's all that lunch, that's when they struck upon the true essence of what they wanted to build. Right. And Vivek then I think remarked that if like the chicken was of such a bad quality, and if they have to build this company, then they have to put life in that dead chicken. Yeah, I think that's the story. That moment they realized what they really wanted to do was to deliver an unparalleled meaty experience to Indians and to introduce global quality standards. That's when they actually went backwards, like going consumer backwards on where they purchased. Right? And I think the consumer was decoupling the purchase decision. Where they purchased grocery from the meat store was different. Yeah, and I think that's when they also realized while horizontal grocery platforms are being developed, there is absolute space to build a standalone meat business, because that's how consumers buy today as well. Yeah, in the offline sector as well. At the local butcher, there was no trust in spite of a claim of trust. So they said, why do you buy from the local butcher? We trust him. Why do you trust him? Because we can stand there and tell him what to do. So I said, that's not trust. That's control. Yeah. That's essentially. So I think, and when they went backwards and they realized that if that's the control, and why does that control exist? Because there's no standardization. There is no trust of a brand. That's why the control exists.
You feel happy just watching him take the meat out of wherever, the freezer or whatever, and chopping it in front of you. That's all you know about that meat. You know nothing more.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So what actually, that's a very interesting thing to say, nation building opportunity. I absolutely love that. But what struck me are two sentences, and then I'll leave you to talk to us about that. Is one is it's a farm to fork model, okay, and number two, which really resonates with me, is something that I read, which was put out in one of your press releases, which said they follow a very simple principle. If I can't feed it to my family, I will not sell it. And I love people like that. I love people in business who think like that. So that's amazing. So maybe you want to take us, straight into the farm to fork, the supply chain aspect of it.
Certainly. I think that's a very pertinent point which you raised there, Sangeeta. Like, I think it's a very simple mission statement to which the company sticks today as well. We won't sell what we feed to our family. It's a credo that, drives everything that the company does even today. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think the problem, which I think what happened and what I think Abhay and Vivek realized and what they transformed in this industry and what Licious is doing today is that we went completely consumer backwards in how the supply chain today is functioning. It starts from sourcing. Yeah. We went back and got absolute top grade sourcing, right? It's not just like buying any produce from the farmer. See, what was happening previously was farmers used to go and sell at a mandi. Yeah.
Right.
The mandi has a fixed price. It doesn't take into account and that fixed price changes every day. The price gets fixed in the mandi every morning. The farmer is coming in and he doesn't know if his produce is going to be sold. He also doesn't know that what rate is he going to get. The only incentive he has is to reduce the cost and provide the lowest quality. Like when you lower down the cost, the quality also suffers, right? So I think in this case, Licious went backwards and partnered with farmers and fishermen. Yeah, we are fully hands-on from start to finish. We own and control the entire journey of meats and seafood. Like, for example, controlling the breed. What is the right breed of chicken? Controlling the feed that goes inside the chicken. Not putting them in cages, but like being natural about it. Like it's free range, right? They're allowed to absolutely roam the farm. So animal welfare and animal handling, and of course, with absolutely no use of antibiotics. I think that's something which we actually take.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
So we chicken and fish is secured from biosecured farms and fisheries, right? I think, and we only source grade A products. So while a lot of times, when this business was being built and like investors are asking them, are you trying to build gold-plated chicken here? What are you trying to do? I said, no, this is what we want to build because this country deserves better meat. So I think, so that's how the sourcing part started. I think, and I think post that I'll come to state of art processing. Like, in processing also, it's a very different ballgame. Like the butchery, like it's frozen, just like any sorts of cuts. We use proprietary AI technology to train our meat technicians. These meat technicians are previous butchers who we have trained to do with precise cuts and and in that sense. So I think that's something which we've done. In a microbe and bacteria controlled environment, there's zero hand touch.
Wow.
All this while, from sourcing till the processing center, and even when we move forward in this journey, the meat is stored between 0 and 4 degrees centigrade. Because that is the optimal temperature. The moment you start freezing the meat, sodium content goes up. Apart from losing its nutrient, it's also a health hazard because it leads to osteoporosis of consumption of that kind of a meat. So I think those are the problems that we discovered, and that's what we're trying to solve for. We're actually India's first fresh meats and seafood company with the FSSC 22000 certification. That's
a global standard.
That's a global benchmark. Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to do. It passes through 150 safety checks is what we have in terms of what are the pH level of the meat, etc., etc. Right? We also have food technologists every day who do this and with every batch. And if even one batch is, let's say, not meeting our standards, we discard it and we live with the dump. Yeah. So I think that's essentially what we're trying to do. This entire process is automated with zero cross contamination. I think that's very key on the processing line. Yeah. Extremely technology driven. The third part then comes with the packaging. Yeah. Apart from the sourcing and the processing, on the packaging front, we've also done vacuum seals. Yeah, what we've done is that, the problem was, why is meat sold in black bags, right? What you just pointed out a while back. And I think what we discovered was, why is it something to be embarrassed about? People take delight in having their fish or their chicken or their mutton. I think we started on this part to remove the stigma and bring meat love into it. And I think that's what we wanted to bring in the packaging. We started off with vacuum sealed packaging with a new fresh steel technology. I think absolutely everything from the back end was technology driven. To have vacuum sealed fresh steel technology, which was the first in this country as well, to keep products fresh, safe, and tamper proof till they get delivered. Now, post this comes to storage and the transportation part. Yeah, I think all our vehicles, all our containers are temperature controlled. They're consistently monitored centrally to keep them between 0 and 4 degrees centigrade. Right? We use tech to absolutely monitor the entire supply chain in this case, and I think we also have enabled our delivery fleet to have chillers with them, right, when they carry, right, transportable chillers, so that the meat is preserved between 0 to 4 degrees. It's meant to be eaten fresh, not frozen. I think so. We live by that promise, and I think that's how we've completely gone behind and transformed the supply chain.
Can we quickly now come to product and the range and the exciting part for the consumer? Congratulations for excellent food photography. So I was just looking at some of your commercials, and I thought to myself, it reminded me of how we used to struggle in the 80s to get decent food photography. So I mean, very good, well done. So let's talk about product range and all of that. Yeah.
Sure, certainly, Sangeeta. See, I think we are pretty much full stack. We have chicken, we have mutton, we have fish and seafood, and we have, apart from fish, we have crustaceans as well. In terms of both crabs, scampi is something we launched very, very recently, right?
Oh, I haven't tried that. Oh, yeah. I must.
Yeah. Yeah. So so I think scampi, we've launched crabs as well, which we also sell deshelled. Then we've also gotten into the ready to cook and the ready to eat ranges. Yeah. Apart from cold cuts, we've also got into marinades. We've also got into kebabs, wings. And all of this has come from consumer feedback. So when we went about building this, we started with the normal chicken curry cut, but consumers said some people liked it small and some people liked it large, the pieces. Control at the butcher end, right? So we started listening to consumers and changing our assortment in that fashion. So when they want to eat a biryani, the cut is different. So there is a biryani cut. Some people like tangri more in a biryani, so there is a chicken tangri biryani cut. Yeah. So I think we completely need small pieces, medium pieces, large pieces, biryani cut, thigh, drumsticks. So I think we listen to consumers for product innovation as well. Even ready to eat and ready to cook, we absolutely started off like listening to consumers, and everything is delivered fresh. Consumers told us that there's nothing for breakfast and snacks, and that's when we invented India's first meat spread. Yeah, which has a lot of chicken variants, egg variants, and now prawn variants as well. I think that's how we started off developing the range. And we wanted to essentially be not just a meat store, but a meat destination where people can come, give suggestions. We listen to those suggestions and we bring back those products. I think those are the advantages which I think come in when I said product, platform, and service, right?
Yeah,
the innovation that you can do on a product basis by listening to consumers directly, in a D2C platform, I think, and live testing, have a product ready in lab test, like just send it in the next batch as samples, get feedback, right? Enroll people on a panel, get live data, right? As and when they are consuming, and not do a focus group, let's say 2 or 3 weeks down, or So I think those are the very, very different nuances which allows rapid pace of experimentation, rapid innovation as well, right? So the entire stage gate process which existed, it has been compressed like 7 times over,
right.
In this sort of an
and that wasn't long ago. 10 years ago, you were still following stage gate process, which was a whole year. And now it's literally a few days, I mean,
absolutely.
So digitization, I think, and of course the app access to, deep data and the algorithmic AI intervention for interpreting data, looking at cohorts, and so customized journeys is what you spoke to me about, and accelerating the experience and building customer delight. And I mean, the range today that you have has got all different kinds of meats, has all got their different kinds of cuts, has even got, I know you mentioned to me that the Punjabis don't like bone in the fish. So we do boneless fish for the Punjabis.
Right.
And for the Bengalis, we sell it with the head and everything else. Whatever they want, right?
Absolutely.
Whatever they want, customized.
We all listen, like, for example, in our supply chain as well, right? While we have processing centers across the country, we have multiple distribution centers, let's say, and hubs like across cities. And these are which is what allows us to deliver in 60 to 90 minutes, right? In those respective pockets. So in the Bengali pocket, the assortment, we'll also see consumers, like that's how a technology-driven organization will work. Like the assortment which we keep there is in let's say Achitaranjan Park near Delhi, right? In Delhi. So there will have more, you will have rohu, you will have hilsa, all the Bengali cuts, and they will have bone, they will have head. Whereas when you're living in a Maharashtrian, if a hub is near a Maharashtrian neighborhood, they will actually carry more bombil. versus a Punjabi locality, they will actually have a lot more boneless and tikka type, like, I mean, in that sense. So I think the fillet parts. So it's very nuanced in that sense. We use extreme demand prediction models for this. So I think all inventory management is done operated through technology in terms of what a SKU is to keep in which particular pocket of the city. What we also observed was Bengalis were actually adopting online purchase of meats and seafood faster than other communities. We fast tracked our Calcutta launch because of this. Yeah, I said, okay, this is a behavior trait which is being observed. So if there is a
you promised to me you will try to understand that, because I told you I was very surprised to hear that the Bengalis were leading the migration to online shopping for Licious. I mean, that's amazing. So you will figure that out. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, and there were some other interesting insights. I think you mentioned that even as a Punjabi, you won't know the difference between mutton and lamb, and there's so many types of fish. So freshwater fish versus what is that, sea fish? Which one do you eat? So there's lots of learning here.
Lots and lots of learning, I think, and that's something which I'm also discovering along as I learn. 70% of mutton eaters don't know whether they're eating goat or lamb. They just think mutton is mutton, and the health benefits of each one of them is different, and like the flavor profile is different. 40% of fish eaters don't know whether it's seawater fish or freshwater fish. Yeah, right. I think a lot of those nuances start coming into the mix, and I think one very interesting insight was NCCSA, right? That they have lesser meat consumption days than SECB. They explore a lot more categories, right, in terms of trying out multiple types of meat as well as lots of ready to eat and ready to cook products. But the consumption is also higher, but the number of days is lesser. So I think those are very interesting nuances which exist in this in the country. Like, you would assume the otherwise, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You would assume that affordability and experimentation will drive that category. And tell me, why did you feature turkey? I mean, Indians don't eat turkey, do they?
We got feedback.
I was quite
yeah. It's a seasonal product. Like, see, we also do a lot of seasonal ranges. So in our ready to eat and ready to cook range, we listen to consumers, and consumers on special occasion days, right? They also look for special products. And this is not just the Catholic community or the Christian community. It was coming in from everywhere, because Christmas is, festivals we celebrate widely in this country, right? Today. Yeah. So I think it came out from a lot, like, people who wanted, let's say, a certain Christmas special. Yeah, but could not figure out how to do that. So we had both raw turkey, right, with an instruction piece on how to cook it, like with multiple recipes. We also had ready to cook stuff, like with Christmas specials, in terms of classic cranberry and bread stuffing inside the turkey. So we innovated with that. We listened to consumers, and hey, how and why would you want your turkeys? How would you want to actually get it prepared? So again, a lot of consumer listening, going back to the stage gate process, which is extremely crunched now. Yeah, and I think and that's how we work towards this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of experimentation that can happen. And really, when I looked at the range, what struck me is that if you ever invited somebody in the past to a meal, you as a person who's the nurture provider, you would spend a lot of time figuring out, should we make mutton, should we make this, that, where should I get the meat, I'll have to go in so and so day. I mean, it's so easy now. You just order your snacks, you order your meats, and you're done. So it's really simplified every meal occasion, I would say. And that's amazing. And there's another first that your company has done, which I think we should talk about on this program, which is your employee retention, or the employee stock option scheme. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? Because that's definitely an industry first in India. And you mentioned globally. It's global benchmark.
A global benchmark. I think the founders mentioned that this is something we want to do, and all of us in the leadership team were like, "Are you guys serious?" I said, "Yes." And I think that's because I think as we spoke about nation building earlier, right? I think they're trying to not just build a business, but build an ecosystem and let's say build the nation as such and the society. So I think in the ESOP program, there are a lot of firsts. Like, we are the first company in this country to give actual ESOPs to our on-ground workforce. Yeah. So like we're the first company also to give ESOPs to our, apart from the on-ground workforce, to have ESOPs which can be vested every day. So see, usually what happens is, your ESOP vesting cycle is on a 10, 20, 30, 40, let's say, for an example. right? If you're leaving a company after 3 years and 10 months, you're only leaving with 60% because that 40% is on a particular cliff. What Licious did was it started off everyday vesting. Yeah, and what does that mean? It gives you more control. Like everyday vesting means that if I'm working today, like if 20% is supposed to vest in a year, 20 by 365 is going to be vesting today, 20 by 365 tomorrow, and so on. Yeah, so I think every day it vests, and it's basically it's giving back the control to you. And the other thing is about anytime liquidation. See, a lot of times in the startup industry, you hear that there's been like years and years, like there are exit moments, right? Secondary moments where let's say when a new influx of funds is coming in inside the organization, sometimes it may or may not be set aside for secondary, right? And there is no control. So like a lot of folks who have spoken to otherwise in the startup ecosystem, they say that, a lot of folks from large organizations don't want to join startup because they say that your stocks are just monopoly money, right? Fortunately, that is not the case.
And just to clarify for our listeners and viewers, here you're referring to the game Monopoly, which has paper money.
Of course. Yeah, I'm referring to the game Monopoly. Yeah, but I think the big change at Licious was that I think they, with anytime liquidation, the control is back with you. Like we have a portal, right? In that portal, there's a button which says you want to sell today. Go ahead and sell, and within 48 hours, the money will be in your bank account. So the two pain points which anyone who's moving from a traditional org to a startup has, they've removed both of them away. One is give assurance of getting that money with that control, and the second thing is control. So assurance and control is what they've given it back to you, and it's
to the employee.
Yeah, and it's generally a wealth creation opportunity, right? Because traditional orgs, the stock grows at what, 20%, 30%, 40% in a year. Here, the stock, because the pace of growth is different and the pace of working is different. So the stock also grows 3-4x in a year. And I think that's a real wealth creation opportunity. And so I have had people in my team who've come back and told me, like, can you make my salary zero and put everything in stock?
Right. So, I just want to put the highlights on the table again. So everyday vesting and anytime liquidation, it is a global first for an organization. I think the other, which comes close to, but may not be a global first, is the fact that all your processing staff, your delivery staff, your factory staff, all of them are included in the ESOP policy. Okay, so there's complete wealth creation opportunity up and down, the pyramid. Okay. And right down to the last worker. The other thing is, you said that you own all the workers right through the organization are on your payroll. So I think gig workers would only be maybe delivery or something like that, if there are any gig workers.
Yeah. So all our processing staff is our own.
Is on your roll.
Is also our own. It's just that on heavy load moments, we sometimes get three.
Okay. So I think absolute credit to the founders to have done this. And there was a very interesting aspect of the discussion we had around this, Prashant. And, and we said, somebody said, hey, aren't you guys eliminating, basically an ESOP scheme is a retentive tool, right? I make it vest over 4 years so that for 4 years, you don't go anywhere, right? But they were criticizing, aren't you eliminating exit barriers? And the founders said, we are creating exit barriers because who will want to be in a situation like this? And I think that kind of thinking, that kind of innovative thinking just turns the problem on its head and makes it into an opportunity. And I think that's amazing. So
founders here believe in being limitless.
Being limitless. It's completely being limitless. And I really admire that. And before we come to the close of this program, a very important aspect, I think, which I'm quite impressed that a company as young as 6 years old is already looking at that, is environment, social, and governance, ESG. And you mentioned all the three separated to me, and you had some very interesting examples here of how you've actually helped to create sustainable livelihood for people who are underserved, right? So let's spend a bit of time on that, please.
Certainly, I think that's a very important piece. As I said, when the founders started building this in 2015, I think when Licious was being built up, I think this saw it as a nation building opportunity, and here is where the nation building opportunity lies. Yeah, we're the first company, we're the first in the country to pledge to be ESG compliant in meats and seafood. You usually also associate this with larger established traditional orgs, right? Seriously. After you reach a certain scale, you start thinking about all of this. But I think this is something that's been in our DNA from day one. Yeah, not just profit, but profit with a purpose.
So, Prashant, thank you so much. And I'm just going to say that, this has been an amazing discovery for me to see how many firsts Licious has got to its name. And that speaks to true innovation, true commitment, building trust for consumers, communities, investors, right? And other stakeholders, all the employees and all the other partners that you're in touch with. And I found a very interesting thing that the founders said, and I want to just quote it. They said, as a category leader, we aim to pave the way for a second wave of young startups that can join hands in fully harnessing the potential. And I think to be so open in business, literally welcome new businesses with open arms, saying, come join us, and maybe we can grow the ecosystem together. I mean, that speaks to me about two founders who have their heart, head, soul all in the right place, and who are going to really do well for this business and for its stakeholders. So thank you so much, Prashant, for being here. Anything you'd like to say as a closing to this session?
Yeah, I think this is just a call out to all startups. Like, I think, which is why I was attracted to the cause at Licious. And I think we're all trying to build something for the future. Say, let us be more inclusive, right? And let's try and build something for the entire community.
Right. A road less traveled, and in such a short time, 6 years. So hats off to you and to all the people who are working so hard in this organization to keep it moving in a limitless way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.